So I wanted, before we get started, to let everyone know that I have a new podcast out, and it's called Meditations. If you like the Meditations segment of this current podcast, you'll like the Meditations podcast. It's nothing but 20 minutes of meditative sounds. And now, on with the podcast.
Americans love scenery. We want to see it all, from one coast to the next, Mount Rushmore down to the Everglades. So hop into a Chevy Malibu and take the scenic route. It's the car you knew America could build. There's a place where people count on friendships they can trace back generations, where they can count on the same stool at the coffee shop waiting for them every morning. This place is called Glen Ellen, and you can find it in every bottle of Glen Ellen wine. This is craft brewed Herman Joseph's, the smoothest, easiest drinking specialty beer in the entire solar system. And I believe you'll find drinkable in the dictionary right after don't order a beer you can't drink. Zoingo! Boingo! The freestyle pogo with more boing, more bounce. Bounce further, bounce higher with Zoingo Boingo. To see what makes Arrowhead Mountain Spring water different from those other waters, you have to go back to the source. And with Arrowhead, that means going back a little farther and longer than most. Between security challenged and security strengthened, there's one important word: how. And it is the how that makes all the difference to our nation and our world. Lockheed Martin. We never forget who we're working for. What makes Kraft Singles so good? 2 out of every 3 kids don't get the recommended amount of calcium. But with Kraft Singles, they get a good source of calcium and the taste they love. Kraft Singles. Magic every single time. Throw boring overboard with a new real meal from Long John Silver's. A meal worthy of a plate. Just $4.99. Only at Long John Silver's. We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Introducing the Hyundai 199 Sonata Lease. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
When did my mum stop being a prostitute? When she dies. I mean, not immediately after. We still got a few weeks out of it. I knew you. One of the more specialist clientele. Rap, 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 rap. Shoot, chat, shoot, chat. What's your name, my friend? Sean. You all right, Sean? Looks like someone's drawn a face on a thumb.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, Trump Tuesday, July the 8th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have the headlines, the patriotic shorts, motivation, Bishop Barron, Ayn Rand, and Donald Trump. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. And now from X, the headlines. President Trump met with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu at the White House. The Trump administration has launched a nationwide effort to take back U.S. farmland from Chinese Communist Party-linked owners. ICE has arrested an illegal immigrant from El Salvador, reportedly linked to MS-13. He was arrested in Orlando, Florida. Every year on July 8th at 11:15 Universal Time Coordinated, 99% of the world's population receive some degree of sunlight. Update. Massive scale raids on illegal aliens being carried out around Los Angeles right now. New York City real estate leaders worried about Democrat socialist Mamdani and are backing Mayor Adams. Heaven slides to 6th place in annual quality of afterlife rankings. And those are the headlines for Tuesday, July the 8th. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now General Flynn on the political corner.
All of these little leaks that you see where they take, a piece of uncontextualized information and then they embroider lies onto the leaks and then they feed that to a willing media. Like, we have already seen numerous examples of that Pete Hegseth and others have had to go and combat. And I think what you're telling us is that will continue to emerge and will continue to be a problem if it's not excised like a tumor.
Yeah, and it's not just finding a leaker here or there. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are people, the other thing is don't fire people. If you have somebody that has done something egregious, don't fire them. Suspend their clearances, remove them from their place of duty. Tell them to stay at home, take their passports, and conduct an investigation. And if that investigation leads to some type of criminal activity, then indict. Go for an indictment. We've got to be much more harsh in terms of how we deal with these people that are basically subverting not only the presidency but the country. And these are people inside of the intelligence community that are long in the tooth, bureaucrats, and they will continue to do this if they get away with it. And frankly, they're getting away with it. Too many of them.
And that was General Flynn in the political corner. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now from YouTube, the patriotic short.
Why is the USA not afraid of the largest navy in the world? On paper, the numbers look bad. China has more ships, with over 340 warships to America's 280. They build them incredibly fast, but numbers are not what matters. First, there's the issue of weight. The total U.S. fleet weighs more than double the Chinese fleet. Our ships are just bigger and more capable. Also, Chinese active carriers have shorter ramps to launch jets. This means their fighter jets can't carry a full load of weapons or fuel, which sharply cuts their combat range. Then you see what they actually do with their carriers. When China's carriers go to sea, they hug the coastline, always staying within range of land-based backup airfields. A real carrier strike group operates in blue water, far away from home, meaning if a pilot can't land back on the ship, they're done. China isn't doing that. They're treating their carriers like floating runways with a permanent safety net, which tells you everything about their confidence.
And that was the patriotic short. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, motivation. And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little meditation. And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the Daily Stoic.
Set the standards and use them. When the standards have been set, things are tested and weighed. And the work of philosophy is just this, to examine and uphold the standards. But the work of a truly good person is in using those standards when they know them. Epictetus, Discourses, 2.11.23 through 25.
And that was the Daily Stoic. And now, His Excellency Bishop Robert Barron.
I can't tell you how many times I heard this little adage. It's not about what you do, it's who you are. It's not doing that matters so much, it's being that matters. I mean, I'll admit there's something to that distinction. Sure, I get it. At the same time, I've always felt that distinction is simplistic, as though we can simply divorce our being from our action. When, in point of fact, I think our being is deeply influenced by our acting and by our doing. Work has a lot to do with the kind of people that we become. In our moral choices, we make ourselves the people that we are becoming. And in a similar way, in the work that we do, we become the people that we are meant to be. Criticize another.
And that was His Excellency Bishop Robert Barron. And now, the Ayn Rand thought of the day. Quote, a major symptom of man's, or a culture's, intellectual and moral disintegration is the shrinking of vision and goals to the concrete bound range of the immediate moment. This means the progressive disappearance of abstractions from a man's mental processes or from a society's concerns. The manifestation of a disintegrating consciousness is the inability to think and act in terms of principles, unquote. And that's Ayn Rand from the chapter, The Anatomy of Compromise, from the book, Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, psychopathy.
Casual smiles may mask a chilling secret. Welcome to the world of the sociopath next door. 5 signs to keep an eye on. 1. Superficial charm. Beware of an enchanting yet insincere persona. 2. Manipulation. They twist situations to their advantage with no remorse. 3. Lack of empathy. A cold indifference to others' suffering might be a red flag. 4. Pathological lying. Untruths and deception are second nature. 5. Impulsiveness. Rash decisions with no thought for consequences. Remember, knowledge is power. Stay vigilant. Stay safe.
And that was psychopathy. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, a little bit of Maria and some stew. And the lady, I wanted to say that the lady that they've got in substituting for Maria is far better than Maria. Maria is so shrill, but this lady has a much more pleasant voice. She's much more pleasant to listen to.
And destroy our tax base. Real quick before you go, what did you make of his answer about the New York City real estate companies and those CEOs that are really rallying behind him right now, that don't want to see the destruction of real estate?
Well, yeah. I mean, real estate investors are you're going to see capital just flow out of New York if Mondami is actually elected. So, it makes total sense that they're backing somebody who, again, is approaching things with common sense and who actually wants to ensure that high-income earners and investors remain in the largest city in the United States, right here in New York City, and they don't flee for Florida or Texas.
Yeah, and Mayor Adams made it clear, that's, these large income earners or high income earners are the ones that are funding our police, that are making sure that we still live in a great city. It's economics.
And he also made it very clear once again, he reiterated on Mornings with Maria today, he is not going to drop out, even though Governor Andrew Cuomo, asked him to. His answer was no. And I asked him, if President Trump offered you a job, would you drop out? He says, I've got a job, and I'm running the city of New York.
Strong answer.
There you go.
Strong.
All right, Mark Tepper, Tiffany Smiley, it's great to have you both here.
Thanks,
before we go, just real quick, everybody, I want to remind you to think about the people of Texas, and you can join Fox's support of the Texas recovery efforts. Go to go.fox/TXFlood relief. Your donations Peterson support the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country's relief rebuilding efforts. David Asman. Sir, good morning.
Great interview with the mayor. Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate it. And good morning, everyone. I'm David Asman, in for Stuart Varney today. Well, President Trump is sending letters and announcing new tariff rates for 14 countries, urging them to strike a trade deal with the U.S. by August 1st or face reciprocal tariffs. The president says more than 90 deals are in the works. To the futures Dow, and it's a mixed picture. As you can see, the Dow is the only index in negative numbers, but it's been hopping around a lot, and right now it's recovering a bit. It's down 49 in futures, and all of the other indexes are up. The 10-year Treasury is up just a tick to 4.43, the 2-year up to 3.92. Bitcoin is trading up again, close to 1,000-point gain to 108,000, almost 109. Oil is down a little bit, about 11 cents, and gold is trading down as well, down about $5.20. On the show today, the battle over the big, beautiful bill moves from Capitol Hill to the campaign trail. House Dems are launching new campaign ads targeting Republicans who back the spending package. We're going to be talking with RNC Chair Michael Whatley about what that means for the midterms. And Dr. Kevin O'Connor, he's President Biden's former physician, has asked to delay his testimony before the House Oversight Committee after initially refusing to cooperate and requiring a subpoena. Congressman Jim Jordan, he's a key member of that committee, joins us ahead of the deposition. And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has officially nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. We've got U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matt Whitaker on Trump's push for global peace. Tuesday, July 8th, 2025.
And that was a little bit of Maria and some Varney and Company nonprofit news now. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now from a book that's called Good Inside. What's the opposite of understanding? For this argument's sake, it's convincing. Convincing is the attempt to prove a singular reality, to prove that only one thing is true. Convincing is an attempt to be right, and as a result make the other person wrong. It rests on the assumption that there's only one correct viewpoint. And then my question is this supposed to be convincing? Further, convincing has one goal in mind, being right. And here's the unfortunate consequence of being right. The other person feels unseen and unheard, at which point most people become infuriated and combative, because it feels as if the other person does not accept your realness or worth. Feeling unseen and unheard makes connection impossible. Understanding two things are true and convincing one thing is true are diametrically opposed ways of approaching other people, so a powerful first step in any interaction is to notice which mode you're in. When you're in one thing is true mode, you're judgmental of and reactive to someone else's experience because it feels like an assault on your own truth. As a result, you will seek to prove your own point of view, which in turn makes the other person defensive because they need to uphold the realness of their experience. In one thing is true mode, exchanges escalate quickly. Each person thinks they're arguing about the content of the conversation when in fact they're trying to defend that they are a real, worthy person with a real, truthful experience. And again, is this convincing? Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Bill O'Reilly, and he's going to play a clip of a CNN news person interviewing the Treasury Secretary.
Roll the tape.
I'm sure you've seen and heard a lot of the concern, including and especially from Republicans who are the most vocal in Congress, about the fact that those work requirements are going to be very cumbersome to actually prove, and it will inevitably force the people who need that Medicaid coverage
off the rolls?
Well, first of all, the Republicans are not the most vocal on this. It is a group of Democrats who unfortunately seem to think that poor people are stupid. I don't think poor people are stupid. I think they have agency, and I think to have them register twice a year for these benefits, that it is not a burden. But these people who want to infantilize the poor and those who need these Medicaid benefits are alarmist.
So he is, if you noticed in the beginning, what did she do? She made this big, long statement. She didn't even ask a question. He could have and should have considered when she stops is saying, I'm sorry, is that a statement or a question? And this is, again, where they pretend that they're conducting an interview when in reality what they're doing is engaging in a debate. But anyhow, she sets up the whole interview with this long statement. I'm sure you've heard about the concerns of many Republicans in Congress and people in the Trump administration, yamana. And it would have been so easy for him, and I think it would have been a good idea for him to say, no, as a matter of fact, I've never heard any such thing. It doesn't exist. And then now the burden of proof is on her. She's going to have to prove that there is such a concern. And so when he does that, now he's forcing the conversation back into a good faith, though. So it becomes a good faith interview because she's going to start from a position of ignorance. Whereas when she asks this leading question, she's starting from the position that she knows something and that she just wants to get the Treasury Secretary to confirm what she already knows. That might be good for her. Maybe it's good for the Treasury Secretary, but it's not good for me as a listener. I'm listening ostensibly to this, quote, news program, unquote, because I'm hoping to get some reliable information. But instead, I'm force-fed this debate, if you will. So, again, he should think about undercutting this statement from the beginning, because if he goes along with it, which he did, he didn't challenge it, so it stands, and now she can use that statement as a foundation for other questions and really other attacks. Because again, since she's basically engaging him in a debate, she can use it for other attacks down the line. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now the preamble to the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Back in a minute. Thank you. So in Los Angeles at MacArthur Park yesterday, there was a big presence of ICE agents that were sweeping through the park. And the Los Angeles city mayor threw a temper tantrum. She held a press conference and threw a temper tantrum, as she's wont to do. I need to remind myself and everyone else that this is what happens when you declare your city a sanctuary city. This is how it started. Los Angeles and other big cities, Chicago, New York, etc., dared the federal government to do their job. We're declaring ourselves a sanctuary city, and we dare you to do something about it. Well, the Trump administration has taken their dare, and they are doing something about it. So let this be a lesson to Karen Bass and every other mayor in the United States of America that's thinking about creating a sanctuary city. Bad idea. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, what does the phrase, "if you're explaining you're losing," mean in debates? This was said by Ronald Reagan, speaking of political campaigns. From the perspective of your audience, if you have to explain yourself, you come off looking desperate to convince. As a consequence, you lose the high ground. From a more philosophical perspective, when you have a clear conscience and strong conviction towards the positions you take, your values, truth, and direction, you don't need the opinions or consent of others. As a consequence, you don't need to explain yourself. However, if you yourself are not convinced of the validity and truth of your position, or you can't fully justify your choices, then you continue to expel words in an attempt to create the illusion of certainty. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Jeffrey Mead.
But Latinos and Latinas in Los Angeles have stood up to defend democracy and say this has gone too far. We have to be thanking them. And actually, Senator Alex Padilla, who I interviewed, basically said, we need more of that. So it's not just Latinos and Latinas taking to the streets, because this is unconstitutional.
For one, interfering with ICE enforcing immigration law is obstruction. It's not defending democracy. Sure, you can protest all you want, but when you're throwing fireworks, burning vehicles, attacking ICE, blocking their entrance and exits, yeah, that's obstruction. And it's funny because they claim they're defending democracy while undermining the laws that were created through a democratic process. They're being hypocrites. The laws were literally created through a democratic process. And now they're working to fight the government enforcing those laws that were created through a democratic process. The whole thing with them talking about defending democracy is more so emotional branding than anything. They want to brand something emotionally to get people riled up to support their causes. They don't care about accurate civic terminology. They weaponize people's emotions to get people to act in the way they want them to act. And it's not good for those people, nor is it good for the country. So no, they're not defending democracy. They're weaponizing emotion to get people to help them undermine the laws that were quite literally created through a democratic process while they claim they're defending democracy. They're literally...
And thank you very much. Well put, Mr. Mead. Back in a minute. Thank you. I wanted to share this email that I had received with everybody, and it's called Introducing Joe Kaufman, Representative Candidate, 23rd District in Florida. Dear Mr. Ronald Hardgrove, I hope this message finds you well. My name is Ronnie Kaplov, and I'm reaching out to introduce Mr. Joe Kaufman, a conservative Republican candidate running for U.S. House of Representatives in Florida's 23rd District. In 2024, Joe Kaufman received 48% of the vote against Democrat incumbent Jared Moskowitz, who outspent Joe by a factor of over 10 to 1. Joe is a counterterrorism expert and a passionate advocate for secure borders, school choice, and economic growth. He has a distinguished record in foreign policy, especially related to the Middle East and Iran, and he has been involved with Iranian opposition for the past 17 years. Last year, Joe successfully led the shutdown of a pro-Hamas conference that was scheduled to take place in Coral Springs, Florida. The organizers of the event, which included the Council on American Islamic Relations, sued Joe in response, but Joe prevailed in court, winning the case. His leadership on this matter underscores his unwavering stance against radical Islam and his commitment to protecting American communities. Given your reputation for engaging, thoughtful discussions on the issues that matter most to Americans, I believe Joe would be an excellent guest for your show. He brings unique insights on national security and is actively involved with what has been taking place overseas. I'm confident he would resonate with your audience and be a valuable guest. And would you be open to featuring Joe as a guest? I'd be happy to coordinate schedules, etc. So my response was, please have your candidate email me an MP3 of a monologue, and I will publish it on my podcast. Because I don't do interviews. I don't have the equipment and setup to do the interview. So if you have something that you want to say on the podcast, send an MP3 and we'll take a look at it. But I just thought I'd go ahead and share that with everybody. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Candace.
Parce que l'œil de la connaissance s'était ouvert et qu'il ne se refermerait plus. Ce que j'ai ressenti, une brûlure douce. La première sensation, ce n'était pas la fierté. C'était un vertige, une forme d'isolement, comme si tout à coup je me retrouvais à regarder un film que tout le monde semblait jouer sauf moi. Une partie de moi a voulu refermer l'œil, revenir à l'avant, mais il était trop tard. La lucidité a cette particularité, elle ne fait pas marche arrière. J'ai ressenti un mélange de puissance et de chagrin. Puissance de voir clair, chagrin de savoir que beaucoup ne veulent pas voir, mais au milieu de ce vertige, une évidence est née. Ma mission, c'était de ne pas me taire. Ce que ça a changé, tout. Ma façon de parler, ma façon de marcher, ma façon d'aimer. Je ne peux plus faire semblant, je ne peux plus me taire pour rassurer, je ne supporte plus les jeux sociaux vides, les phrases creuses, les masques qu'on colle pour faire bonne figure. Je cherche le vrai, coûte que coûte, et ce besoin de vérité m'a isolé, oui. Mais il m'a aussi révélé. Je suis devenu plus libre, plus radical, plus aligné. Je ne cherche plus à plaire, je cherche à éveiller, mais ça dérange, surtout si ça dérange. Aujourd'hui, l'œil fait partie de moi. Parce que l'œil de la connaissance... Parce que l'œil de la connaissance était ouvert.
Candace. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Jordan Peterson about what is happening in Europe. He says something dark is happening in Europe.
I mean, I remember when there were great hopes for the European Union, and the hope was, it's kind of analogous in a way to the hope that if we brought China into the capitalist economic system, that would produce a liberalization in political ideology in China, a freeing. And you can understand that was a plausible hope. And it's certainly the case that the Chinese economy has grown dramatically, and the cost of certain consumer goods have plummeted. The working class has paid a price for that. And absolute privation in many ways has been drastically limited in China, so it wasn't a complete failure, but the idea that it would liberalize China has turned out to be like, that just didn't happen even a little bit. So when the EU was formed, it was a thrill, I suppose, to some degree, that it became radically easy to move between countries without the inconvenience of passports and border guards and so forth. And the hope as well would be that the toxic elements of nationalism, such as they were, which had seemed to tear Europe apart multiple times, would be radically ameliorated, and that Europe could unite. That would raise the poorer countries out of their penury and produce an economy, I suppose, that would be equivalent in some ways to the United States. That was the hope.
The EU was sold as peace, unity, and prosperity. Jordan Peterson says it became a fortress of faceless power, a superstate where elected officials can't even touch a thermostat without permission. What was meant to unify Europe now rules it from a labyrinth in Brussels, enforcing green mandates and crushing national will. Peterson connects the dots. China didn't liberalize, the EU didn't democratize, and Canada's next. With Mark Carney pivoting hard toward the global elite, the Trudeau era may just be a warm-up act, The real plan? Rule from above, erase borders below. This isn't integration, it's inversion. And Peterson is sounding the alarm.
And the consequence was, and this is why the UK left, the consequence was really the elimination of intermediary political structures and the creation of a super organism in Brussels. I've been to Brussels, to the home of the EU. The building that enterprise is housed in is a monstrosity of cataclysmic foolishness. It's like the world's biggest and ugliest, badly designed airport. Tiny offices. I've got a comical story for you. I was there 3 years ago, maybe, speaking to another far-right politician from Eastern Europe, Romania, I think. And he had this tiny little office. And while I was there, the environmental police came into his office and adjusted his thermostat, right, so that he couldn't keep it cool fundamentally because of the green requirements. Yeah. And there wasn't a damn thing he could do about it. And, I've talked to Bjorn Lomborg about thermostat adjustments and the fact that they're deadly, essentially, especially to elderly people, especially in winter. But I thought it was so telling that we had gone to this staggeringly hideous monstrosity of a building. It was just a rat's maze inside. There was I don't know how you would ever orient yourself inside that building. Yeah. It's gargantuan. And then to speak with this elected official who was powerless. Now, he wasn't happy about this, by the way, but who was powerless to adjust his own thermostat. I thought, that's pretty much exactly it. So you got a radically centralized Europe where the distance between the citizens and the government grew to like slave tyrant proportions. Yes. And so a hyper elite with disenfranchised people, that's what it looks like to me. And so, I don't know, maybe we should start by making a case for the European Union. I mean, if you had to play devil's advocate and you looked at what's happened in Europe over the last 20 years, do you think there's been advantages to the European project? I mean, the UK certainly decided no and decided to go their own way, which I think all things considered was a good idea. And then they went and elected a Labour government. So, that's a catastrophe. But when national parties, I've seen this in the Netherlands, when national parties try to move in a direction that the Brussels elite do not approve of, then often environmental groups, the Greens in particular, take them to court and frequently win, right? Yes. And so the activist types have got an appeal to a centralized authority that can supersede national sovereignty, and that frequently does.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I saw I think it was Keir Starmer, if I remember correctly, who made some denigrating comments about Westminster not so long ago. It's probably a few years, pointing out that the real seat of power and the real decision-making authority rests with these supranational organizations like the WEF and the EU. And so it also seems to me to be the case that politicians whose ambition knows no bounds have their eye on the ultimate prize. And if that means sacrificing local or national interests, then so be it. I have a sneaking suspicion, we'll see how this plays out, that's what's going to happen to Canada, because Carney has turned hard in the direction of Europe. Now, he's done that under some provocation from Donald Trump, who I think miscalculated greatly when he agitated for Canada to become the 51st state in the middle of our last election, right? And I think he'll regret that, because we'll see. Carney seems to have changed his stripes, which is something I don't understand at all. But I think if he's still the same man that he was, Trump managed to get a pretty canny enemy instantiated on the northern border. And I think Carney is positioning himself as the leader of the opposition. He's trying to do that, the leader of the opposition to Trump across the world. Yeah. So there is this desire, especially by the statist types, to serve the highest possible master. And that has meant the WEF and the EU. And so Yeah. You know, in Canada, the Liberals have decided, I think it's 2035, that we'll no longer be able to have internal combustion vehicles, say, in Canada.
Exactly.
You know how insane that is?
I know.
And that was Jordan Peterson about what's going on in Europe, particularly the EU. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Donald Trump.
Years from now, some of them may look back and ask themselves whether they've made the right choice, whether they've made the most of the opportunities they've been given. Together, we have the same mission. Over the course of your life, you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve and that are not always warranted. But you have to put your head down and fight. Never, ever, ever give up. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right. Nothing worth doing ever came easy. And the more righteous your fight, the more opposition that you will face. In your hearts are inscribed the values of service, sacrifice, and devotion. Now you must go forth into the world and turn your hopes and dreams into action. America has always been the land of dreams because America is a nation of true believers. When the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, they prayed. When the founders wrote the Declaration of Independence, they invoked our Creator 4 times. Because in America, we don't worship government, we worship God. It is why our currency proudly declares, "In God we trust." And it's why we proudly proclaim that we are one nation under God. The story of America is the story of an adventure that began with deep faith, big dreams, and humble beginnings. The next generation of American leaders never, ever give up. There'll be times in your life you'll want to quit. Never quit. Never stop fighting for what you believe in and for the people who care about you. Carry yourself with dignity and pride. Demand the best from yourself. The more people tell you it's not possible, that it can't be done, the more you should be absolutely determined to prove them wrong. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. You must keep pushing forward. And always have the courage to be yourself. America is better when people put their faith into action. Pray to God and follow His teachings. Today, each of you begins a new chapter as well. When your story goes from here, it will be defined by your vision, your perseverance, and your grit. You will build a future where we have the courage to chase our dreams no matter what the cynics and the doubters have to say. You will have the confidence to speak the hopes in your hearts and to express the love that stirs your souls. As long as you have pride in your beliefs, courage in your convictions, and faith in God, then you will not fail. As long as America remains true to its values, loyal to its citizens, and devoted to its Creator, then our best days are yet to come. May God bless the class of 2017. May God bless the United States of America. And I just want to let you know that God blesses you. And I want to just say, you are special in every way. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And that was President Donald Trump. Back in a minute. Thank you, and this is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that materialism is a concept.